Hi, I'm Whack.
Hey, and I'm Pat, and thanks for joining us for another episode of the Weekly Orbit, where we're going to consolidate this week's news in about 30 minutes. This is the week ending Friday, June 14th, and probably kind of an exciting overnight. I got a text message from you at like 4 in the morning. Pat, wake up, wake up. What is
Well, what?
happening?
Yeah, what happened is I was asleep. I was fast asleep, and my little one woke up. So, like he wanted milk, and then that made me wake up, obviously. So what we all do is we just like reach for our phone, have a quick look, and I had a bunch of notifications from trading saying, "Hey," and the thing is, I had notifications from Discord turned off. And it was only this
Hmm.
week that I turned them back on, and because I'm on the IMC now, I need to be a bit more responsive to certain things. So I turned them back on and I was like, what's this going on over here? And as I look, I was like, what? Like I was like
Yeah,
astonished.
I had the
Yeah,
same
we
reaction.
can
Like,
we
what?
we can pull up the chart. And that happened over and over again this morning in trading as all the Americans were kind of like waking up. I was just like, what? and one of the guys,
What?
Vitalik Bouldering, like just kept posting back to his like self-referential like link of like explainer of what happened, and it's like
Yeah.
17. The last time I checked it was like 17 or 18 links back trading, and I won't tell you where it ends, but yeah, we can talk about what caused this and what everything happened, but let's have a look at the prices first, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's for Ethereum, it's kind of the same old story. We're in this trading, between 3,400 and 3,800. We're
Yeah.
just ranging, crabbing.
Can you show the
So on the
weekly?
week,
On the week, yeah.
yeah, weekly. So last week we were at 38.13, and now we're at 34.94. So we're down a little bit on the
Yeah.
week. Um, to be exact, we're down, well,
So
actually 7%. So it's
yeah.
kind of significant.
Yeah.
But it's been crabbing, right? And RPL has been kind of doing that. It actually is more of a slow bleed. All the alt.
Hmm.
We're gonna talk. I was gonna actually talk about the markets and how everything is BTC ETH right now, and alts, everything alts is suffering, and
Yeah.
RPL is part of that. And it's just like
Hmm.
a giant tsunami wave that you just can't. It's hard to navigate out of that giant wave. Like no matter what you're doing, if the market trend is going against you, you know, the opposite is true. When the market trend starts going for you, uh, it'll rise. The lifting tide lifts all boats, right? But last night, though, we had a look at this. What is this? What happened here? I don't know
Okay.
what this is. We were at like
$18.
18 and
Yeah.
change, and
Yeah.
then we peaked within maybe an hour. We went to
Mhm.
$33.55, maybe even 36, depending on
Yeah.
which exchange, right?
Hmm.
And then
So
we're currently at 24.96. So over the last 24
bleeding.
hours, we're up almost 32%. At one
Yeah.
point, we were up about 100%. But yeah, so the ratio, I think last night we were at 0.005
5-4.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and right now we're at 0.0071. So significant. That's a 32% change in the ratio as well. So
Yeah. If you turn
what
on
happened?
the ETH chart with this, like the ETH price, if you just scroll down a bit right there, like you'll see that we actually went above. Well, actually, like CoinGecko's not very good at showing you all the candles, but we actually went above 0.01 for a minute there.
Yeah,
So what happened?
right.
Okay, yesterday there was a community call that Jasper hosted, and we had Langers on the call, and they were talking Houston and what's going to happen with Houston, what's going to happen after Houston. Now, for those people who watched the weekly orbit last week, you'll see that we had Jasper on here, and he was sharing some information about potential like institution level whale marriages and protocol at the protocol level, and
I think
how
his
this is going to
exact
happen.
words were non-public information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that
I
information
was-
became public yesterday. So
yeah,
during well, kind of, not exactly.
yeah.
So during the community call, Langer said that the team will be entering whale marriages with technically capable teams that are out there. Didn't mention names about who they were going to be, but this was like an official confirmation of the rumors that we'd heard in Denver, and like coming out in a public way now. So they didn't say. It looked like there was, from what Langer said. it sounded like there's going to be multiple marriages with multiple entities. It looks like they're going to be scaling it up as time goes by. So they'll start fairly small, I presume, and then like ramp it up.
Right.
And it looks like they're going to say stake a sizable amount of their treasury, but not all of the treasury. Like I'm not sure exactly how much they're going to have left, but they said that they won't stake all of it, but they'll be staking a sizable amount. So that instantly caught attention. Now people were like really excited about that. Like it looked really good. So that was awesome. As the night went on, I think there's a confluence of a bunch of different things. So it might just be that that was like correlation, not causation. It might be that, you know, that got some small amount of buys coming through. But what ended up happening is someone bought, and then some more people bought, and then it reached the threshold where liquidation cascade started. So it
Right.
looks like it started. I'm not sure where the big buys initially happened. It most likely was on Binance. I think they moved first there. But what ended up happening after that was we we liquidated about 175,000 RPL on AAVE. And I think there was almost over over a million RPL of volume on Binance as well. So those were the two venues where the biggest changes happened. Now with Binance, most people there like that is where the shorting is a shorting venue. Like you can get 5 times leverage for shorting RPL. So it looks like there was a sizable amount of shorts that was stacked up on Binance. With
Hmm.
Aave, however, it's the people who borrow to stake their RPL, and that there was a whole bunch of liquidations happening there. Like I said, 175,000 RPL. So those people sadly have ended up in a pretty bad situation. If you have a look at like if you supply RPL to Aave right now, you can get nearly 20%. Earlier on, it
Right.
was like 35%, I think,
Yeah.
because they were running out of RPL. So people have added more. But this is the thing that's like driving that is like so many people have borrowed that those numbers have gone up. So like I think that is something really worth paying attention to. But there was like a powder keg of stuff. I think someone was also saying that some technical indicators were flashing that RPL has bottomed. Now, you know, how much you want to invest into technical analysis, you know, your mileage may vary. I like to look at it like kind of in a humorous way rather than a serious way. But I know other people do look at it in a serious way. So for them, if they saw that, you know, there was a bullish divergence, blah blah blah, whatever, like whatever they saw in the charts, it might have been that all of these things together kind of created the perfect storm for this huge liquidation cascade happening, and the price going from $18 as we saw on Binance all the way up to $36 where it peaked on Binance. So there was like a lot happening, and it happened quick. And so far since then,
Yeah.
it's just kind of bled down. And as you've got on the screen here, look, the if you scroll down the Thai beat, that's the bot. That buy that came in with it. So it looked like, you know, on Uniswap there's not much liquidity, so the prices like kind of fluctuate quite a lot. But 0.00519, and then
Yep.
it just kind of went crazy. Like that's kind of where it started, but it
We're
just
going. I
I
think we're
think you're
going
going
the
the
wrong
wrong
way
way.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah. There we go.
yeah, that's right.
So
And
there.
then look at
Then
that,
we
it went
start
to five
five nine
nine.
four,
Yeah, exactly. So
and
and then
this
it
is
just
just
went
within minutes. Like
minutes.
within. I mean,
Hmm.
this. We can keep scrolling here. It's like minute by minute by minute. There's
Yeah.
a ton
Well,
of
these are like,
activity.
yeah, the flashing within minutes here. That 15-minute candle, I think, had like a 25% gain before people could like
Mm.
respond to it. It was up 25%. And then as people were responding up to it, it went up 100% basically from where it was. So
Yeah. Here's a big
yeah,
gain from
it was,
3:15 a.m.
mhm,
The next one was at 3. Well, we went
yeah,
from
6-4.
point
Yeah,
zero five four one
that
to point zero zero six four
that
three.
sell there is like it's not the correct information because it's coming from Uniswap. Like they
Mm.
have really limited liquidity, so it's like people are getting sandwiched quite a lot. But the
Mm.
what you want to be looking at, just looking at the buy bot and the green one, and just seeing that number ticking up. Like it's just, you know, 6-4, then 6-5, then 7, and then 8. So if you, yeah, like
Let me
it
go
was flying. It was literally
back.
flying. So there was a lot. Look, and then 9.7 you can see right
Yeah.
there. Like, yeah, so it went up really, really fast.
Yeah,
Like
that was
really,
at just, so that's like,
so
20 minutes later,
hmm
we're at almost 0.01
doubled.
ratio.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
almost had to shave the mustache or,
yeah, because you
or
said that
grow the beard back because we all got
4,040.
to 0.11.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
But
yeah, but this is crazy, the amount of
yeah,
activity within minutes. So,
yeah,
what do you think was happening here? So you think it was just you had a lot of activity on Binance,
yeah.
and
Short
because
squeezes.
the bot was not picking up a lot of the,
Yeah,
you know,
it doesn't catch anything from Binance. It wasn't seeing anything from CowSwap, etc. But what we can kind of piece together is that people are like 5 times short, for example, on Binance, then they are forced to buy back RPL to pay back their loan, and then they're buying the RPL drives the price up, which means the next person gets liquidated, which means then that forces the price to go up, which means then the next person gets liquidated. It's called liquidation cascade, but this was just on the price going up instead of price going down. Yeah, it's it was a pretty it was the biggest candle in RPL history, basically.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
So
100%.
Jasper has a post out this morning. He says today's an exciting yet somber day for Akapool. You may have seen a nearly 100% gain on the ETH ratio. What happened? The token price had been down for many months. However, this weekend, Houston upgrade will go live. This upgrade promises the potential for massive institutional partnerships and tremendous growth. Partnerships years in the making. Perhaps it was because of impending upgrade that we saw the initial price start to rise. Then, once the price really got moving, we saw, unfortunately, liquidation start appearing on AAVE. Node operators have been using AAVE to stake by borrowing the RPL token. Leverage is risky. These borrowers were likely not shorting RPL, but rather just regular node operators who did not want exposure to the RPL token. Roughly 144,000 RPL tokens worth
It's
of debt,
actually 175,000. Yeah,
175,000 tokens
yeah.
of debt were bought in a very short amount of time. This appears to be the case of unlucky node operators caught off guard by a price pump that led to a much larger overall movement.
Yep.
With the Saturn upgrade, this will never happen again as the minimum bond will be gone. But yeah, so, it's on one side, you wake up at 4 a.m, you're like, holy cow, look at my net worth has just increased by, certain
Double.
X,
Yeah.
right? But if you had borrowed some RPL on Aave, you're like, shoot, you got liquidated. So
Yeah.
I guess what's the bottom line, Whack? Just be careful if you're using leverage,
The f-
right?
the first thing that we say, right, like Anthony Sassano's rule, a whole bunch of other people that we've said it on this show so many times is don't get yourself blown up, right? That is the main thing, is like you don't get yourself blown up. And the problem is that with borrowing RPL to stake it, a lot of people don't realize that it's a form of leverage. Like it's a form of borrowing and that has liquidation risks. And sadly, what's happened is a whole bunch of people in the community, like over time, have told people, hey, look, you can do this. If you don't want RPL exposure, but you do want to stake with Rocket Pool, go and like borrow the token from Aave and you can stake it that way. Thankfully, we do have better options. Like, Miso Finance is a better option, but it hasn't had much uptake. And then Ramana is working on Rocket Lend, which will be an even better option for stakers. So then, like this 175,000 tokens that liquidated in Aave, there were definitely some of those guys who were shorters as well. And almost all of the people on Binance were shorters. So we
Yeah.
have to keep that in mind. But there were definitely legitimate people. Like, and I've come across anecdotally, like at least 5 or 6 people who said, hey, I got liquidated tonight. Like I got liquidated today. So that is kind of horrible. That's where the somber tone comes in, right? Like, we have to be really empathetic with these people because we're the ones, not us specifically, but like we as a community are the ones who told them, hey, look, go borrow RPL and you'll be fine. And
Yeah.
they were not fine.
You're fine until you're not fine, right?
Yeah,
When the market's just doing this, you're
exactly.
fine, and all of a sudden
Exactly.
you just get a
Yeah.
real spike, and boom,
Yep.
within minutes you're in hot water.
The thing is, if you react really quickly, you'll be fine, right? Like if you,
Yeah, but
but as a staker, if you stake your RPL, you can't react quickly, right? You have to, like, it takes time to withdraw your RPL. It's locked on your node. Like you can't react quickly, so that adds a layer of risk to it. That like
right.
someone else might be a bit more responsive. Like if you had a position, you got liquidated right as soon as you got liquidated, if you use it to buy back, your collateral, you'll be down. Of course, you'll be down, but you might not be down as much as someone who was asleep when this happened, or their crypto was locked on their node, they couldn't do anything, and then you get the pump because of the short squeeze. And then people sell into the short squeeze, the price goes down. With the price going down, what happens? Like, you've lost money. Like, if you got liquidated at $36 or $35, then the price is down to $25. That's, you've just lost like 30% of your money. So it's really, really horrible, like, that this has happened in that way, for these people, and I feel really bad for them. But yeah, that's like the negative side, of course, of the jubilation that comes with the price pump, right? So
Right. Well, if you do have some RPL laying around, if you want to deposit it here, you could get 19%. It was up, like you said, I saw it at like 35, 40 earlier. So
Yep.
this will probably come back down to equilibrium. But I think before this happened, it was like the average was 2.8%, 2.8% you're
Yeah.
getting on your RPL. So we'll probably come back to some kind of equilibrium soon.
Yeah. What would be really interesting to see is where the RPL price and ratio settles. So, like, I said in trading last week that, it was rewards night and the rewards period got locked in at 0.00555. And I said, I think that will be the lowest ratio on rewards night. I'm still standing by that.
Yeah.
There's a chance that, we'll round trip this pump. Like, it might be going back down. Hopefully it won't go back down to $18 as it was before, but we've already seen, like, a big chunk of it retrace. But yeah, hopefully we can
So
keep some of this
yeah,
price. Yeah.
yeah, right. So I went to Rocket Scan just to check out, not the ratio here, it seems to be out of date, but I wanted to see like in terms of the amount of RPL that our whales have. And you got the Rocket Pool teams got over 1.5 million. And this is what Langers was talking about, utilizing this RPL that's been sitting idle
Yep.
into marriages with some ETH whales,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And you got a Patricio here, of course. He's got another
Patricia's
mill.
already got a couple of million RPL in marriages already with Marco Barco. I'm not sure if he's open to more marriages or not, but if with Houston, I think there might be more people willing to get married to him than there are now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if we're just utilizing existing RPL that people have been just storing in their wallets, how does that help the RPL price, the broader
Yeah.
price, right?
Okay.
Can
So
we
this is
talk
a
about that
really
for a
good
minute?
point that you bring up, right? So, like, that doesn't help the price, right? In fact, if anything, what ends up happening is people who are currently staking RPL, their rewards will get diluted by 5-10% potentially, like maybe
Right.
even a little bit more than that, depending on how much is effective at the time. So that sounds like it's bad, right? The positive side of it is twofold. One of them is that we get real TVL, like growth, and we'll get new node operator ETH coming online. So if you have a look at the node operator ETH chart, that's been down only since June, July last year. I don't think we have it on there, the NETH chart. There's a Dune dashboard that Invis made that has the NETH chart. But on that, the RETH actually, they probably have the RETH amount, and that I don't know if it shows because this is, I think, a cumulative graph, but
Right.
yeah, like RETH growth has gone down, of course, from 560,000 to 505,000. NETH, node operator ETH, has gone down from about 250,000, I think, to a little bit less than, like a little bit more than 200,000. I'm not sure of the exact numbers. I haven't looked at the chart that recently. But what will happen is this will bring online a whole bunch of new node operator ETH, which will then bring online a whole bunch of our ETH, which, we want to show that Rocket Pool is growing as a protocol again. So someone worked it out that, if the team put forward a million of their 1.5 million RPL, that could bring online like nearly 4,000 validators, which would then, of course, have more than the deposit pool's worth of deposit. Like, each one would be 24 ETH, so more than 100,000 our ETH potentially. We could lift it with those 1,000 validators. No, that's not right.
Okay.
24,000. No, 4,000 validators. Yeah, 100,000 ETH. Our ETH we could potentially lift with that, which is a tremendous, huge, gargantuan growth, which would be amazing. So that's one part of it. The second part of it is
Yep.
the hype, right? Like,
Yes.
you need the narrative tailwind. And there's some nuance here, right? Like you don't want there to be narrative and the hype on your project when you've got nothing to show for it, because that's really short lived. What happens is you want hype and attention to come to your project, and then you want something of substance there to show for it. So if people say, hey, XYZ whale slash institution just got into marriage in Rocket Pool and the TVL's going up, like what's going on here? Let's go have a look at Rocket Pool and see what's going on. So when they actually come to the protocol though, they'll see, we've got Houston, which has made us the most decentralized by far, even more decentralized than we were before. They'll see that, we are working on Saturn, which is going to be really amazing and really cool. So as they look at it, there's actually stuff of substance underneath it. So I think, that reward dilution, that might be, 10, 15%, whatever it might end up being, that is a cost that, we as a protocol should be willing to pay, because we get all these other benefits that come with it. So that's how I look at it. Like other people will say, you don't want to grow on hype, you want to grow on fundamentals. I think we have to be a little bit less naive, and we have to understand that hype is a fundamental aspect of a protocol's growth. Like you can have the best technicals and fundamentals out there, but if you don't have a narrative or some kind of tailwind that's coming from that, you're going to be dead, right? And that's just the reality of the situation. But
we saw that. We saw that.
Yeah,
we saw
exactly.
that with Atlas.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, the whole LST narrative.
Yeah.
As Shanghai was coming, the hype, it was all hype. But if you peel back the curtains, we did. And you peel back the curtains, if you really look, like some people in the community they're like, hey, the tokenomics are kind of messed up here. Exactly. But, hey, the hype.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make, right? So thanks for that. That's exactly right. So now if you pull back the curtains, hopefully, you'll be able to see that there's all this really, really great stuff happening. And that is what is giving me a little bit of hope, actually, that, even if the price does, we lose even more of the gains that we had this morning, goes down from 36 even down to 20, for example. I hope it doesn't, but even if it does, as long as in the next week, when we start getting these announcements coming through of these partnerships, I think that will be a more sustained growth. Then we'll see how it works out, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And another thing about the hype is this, as you were saying, some of these teams will probably, I don't want to say DCA, but they'll start, maybe we'll say Consensus. I'll just pick a name. Consensus says, okay, we're going to set up, we're going to start out low. We're going to do 5,000 ETH just to start.
Yeah.
And then maybe a month or two later, now they're up at to 20,000 ETH.
Yeah.
And then a month or two after that, another 20. And then, so it's like drip, announcement after announcement after announcement, like Consensus.
Yep.
And then Consensus, and then Consensus, and then maybe Coinbase, and I'm just throwing them out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They're not, I think you're right. Like if you're a treasury operator for one of these big firms, you're not going to just lump sum dump all at once.
Yeah.
You're going to probably space this out. But what that does is it gives a constant drip of new, exciting news. Like the Block will have a new article about Consensus just staked another, 5,000 validators, or, and it's just, we need that constant churn of good news that will have people take a look at a Rocket Pool. So I guess what you're saying with the price of RPL is directly, doesn't affect the price because you're taking existing RPL that's been sitting in wallets and just marrying them to new ETH coming in. But the indirect effect is that you're creating hype, you're creating new growth, and you're creating an excitement around the protocol, which eventually leads to price appreciation for the
exactly.
For the token.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So and I think that it might be a tiny bit soon. Like we don't quite have the infrastructure in place, right, to deal with it. Potentially, we still might have to think of where our ETH is going to come from. If we are getting 100,000 ETH worth of node operator ETH coming in, we'd need 300,000 ETH worth of our ETH that we can lift with that. What's going to happen with that? Where is it going to come from? These are then questions that we have to start figuring out, and that's what is going to be important for us as a protocol to get a grips on, because we need to see that those TVL metrics are still growing, they're not stagnating, and we don't hit a wall, which is what happened with Atlas, right? We got that initial spike. The first few weeks were really great, And then it ended up being that, we saw that the tokenomics had issues and there were some holes there. And because of that,
Right.
we stagnated and then slow decline started. Now we need to hopefully be in a position where we can we avoid that. And one of the things that will happen is like, and this is what Langer said in the community call last night. He said this will be a progressive increase of stake, right? So hopefully by going up in steps, we'll give the ETH holders a chance to see that there's something happening here and wanting to be a part of it and wanting to stake their ETH.
I imagine at some point we're going to have a discussion of giving the IMC some authority to incentivize our ETH.
Yeah.
Because right now, I don't think the charter really allows for that.
No, there's
But
there's nothing in the charter that directly pays is for. Let me word this properly. There's nothing in the charter right now that allows the direct incentivization of minting our ETH. However, these are powers that can be given to the IMC or maybe another committee later. We just have to figure out how that's going to look as a community as a whole.
Right.
Yeah.
So, because it sounds like we've got the node operator side. We've been working so hard on the tokenomics, on NodeSet, on Houston institutions. I think we're in a really good spot there going forward. The other half of the equation is our ETH. Right, we need a ETH in the deposit pool, the funnel all this, right? That balance. So I think that'll be our next thing we'll to be talking about in the coming months is how do we incentivize our ETH growth so that this will all work out. But yeah, I'm excited because Houston, we're going to skip to right now. It makes for institutions maybe more comfortable because it creates these marriages at the protocol level, and it's been audited by 3 firms, and there's a level of comfort. But also, Houston decentralizes Rocket Pool. We talked about with Jasper last week, Fit 21 regulations. Rocket Pool looks pretty good as compared to most protocols out there in terms of regulatory certainty or would we meet these tests. So it's an important upgrade. And Jasper here says the vote to enable Houston upgrade is live. The upgrade introduces on-chain voting, enables the integration with node operators, which is NodeSet, and opens the door for major trustless partnerships between institutions. Or I guess it's almost trustless.
Trust minimized.
Almost trustless. Pretty close, right?
Yeah.
And the
this
vote
has
has
actually gone through now.
Yeah, I had it. I don't know if I got it here. I had it up here, but yeah, Langers had posted that the vote had passed. ODAO has now becomes official. This, depending on where you are in the world, this Sunday or Monday, we will have Houston on mainnet.
Yeah, and that's really exciting.
Well, yeah, Langers says, hey, everyone, I'm excited to share a protocol development roadmap update for Q2. Going forward, we'll be posting these updates on the DAO forum for greater visibility and engagement. So let's take a look at the Q2. We touch on, of course, Houston. He says it's undergone rigorous auditing. It's kind of old news at this point. It's going live June 17th. RPIP 28 and 30 have been ratified by the DAO for inclusion in the protocol, but unfortunately, those were ratified after the Houston feature cutoff. So just as a refresher, RPIP 28 allowed deposits under the minimum, and RPIP 30 was RPL staking rework. And so these are going to be incorporated, I guess, in the Saturn 1.
Yeah, most likely.
I guess Saturn 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Work continues on Saturn. We've got, as we've talked about, I think on your show, kind of the framework document it's almost finished and it's ready for consumption. It's really a way for people to dive in from just a high level to all the weeds.
Yeah.
So we're making progress on that. And of course, the V2 Smart Node, which Joe has been working on, a complete redesign of the Smart Node stack, is in beta testing. So a lot of exciting things in Q2. I'm looking forward to Q3. And there was just a quick reminder, Stark, if you haven't claimed your Stark airdrop yet, you have until June 20th. Okay, so that time is running out. And this was a pretty lucrative airdrop whack. And so if you haven't done that, maybe you want to check your wallet or check the provisions claim page for Starknet and get that before it expires, because you got less than a week and then it's all gone. Do you have any wins this week you'd like to share?
Yeah, there was the ZK Sync airdrop, and
Yeah.
it was one of the few airdrops that I've actually actively farmed in my life, and it treated me pretty well, better than I expected. So that was another one of those like wake up at 4 a.m. and then don't go back to sleep things. So that also happened a few days ago on Monday morning, where I woke up at 4 a.m. to feed the baby, and people are tagging me saying, "Hey, the ZK airdrop checker has gone live." So I was in bed, so I messaged my friend who farmed it with me, and he was like, "Hey, these are my tokens," and he did really well, like more than the people in the Discord were saying. So I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna get out of bed and go check myself as well." And then when I actually checked, I was like, "Wow!" I was actually like gobsmacked, like absolutely gobsmacked. So it's like twice in 1 week where my sleep has been ruined because of really positive news. So those are my
Yeah.
wins for the week.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine too. I think I woke up, I was laying in bed and half asleep, and I checked mine, and I had to like do this. Like I was like, wait, how much did I get? I was very happy. You got more than I did, but I was very pleased with my allocation. So by far the biggest airdrop I've gotten or will get, I should say.
Yeah, probably, yeah. So
Right?
it looks like the price of it is going to be somewhere around 30 to 40 cents. That seems like what people think it'll be. However, I think there's a chance that it could go up to $1. Anything more than 50 cents, and I'm selling it like pretty much right away, regardless of where the price goes. But I think there's a chance that it could go to $1. If you look at like Optimism, Arbitrum, Starknet,
Hmm.
where these kind of peaked at their fully diluted values. If ZK gets there, it'll be around $1 each, which would be amazing. But there's a chance that, anywhere between 30 cents and $1 will be all good. I'm not going to complain about that.
It'll be all good. I don't want to say it's life-changing money, but it's definitely, what would you call it?
Like
It's
very,
not
very nice
life-changing,
money.
but it's
Yeah.
very, very nice money, right?
Very,
I
very,
guess
very
you would
nice
say.
money. Yeah. But some
Right.
people are going to be making as much as like an annual salary basically in a lot of countries in the world from an airdrop. And I worked out that I did
Yeah.
18 hours of work for that airdrop.
Oh, you kept track? You had a time
No,
card?
I know
You're
that
fun.
I interacted with ZK Sync with my friend once a week. So every 4 weeks we had a call where we jump on the call,
Right.
and for an hour we just do like different farming activities, like kind of telling each other what to
Yeah.
do and like what we should be doing. And we did that 18 times over the course of 2 years, for an hour each. So that was the extent of my farming. The salary return for that could be like a soccer player or something. Yeah.
Yeah. To be fair, I think they did overall with these airdrops, it becomes more and more difficult as people complain, and you got these
Yeah.
Sybils, and then this whole industry of Sybil attackers who they've got. Not only are they farming, but they have also got Twitter bots
Hmm.
who then go on like a blitz complaining,
Yeah.
looking for the team to change.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's but just looking at their allocation that they did, I thought it was pretty fair. In terms of
Yeah.
the allocation to the team, it was a 17.5% drop, which is higher than normal.
Hmm.
Um, 2/3 of it's going to the community. Um, they did their criteria was kind of interesting. Where they said if the only like if you didn't sell your OP or your Arbitrum
You got a
airdrop, you got a
multiplier.
multiplier,
So
right?
that was the difference between me and my friend, is he got X and I got 2X because
Right.
I kept my ARB tokens. I only sold them a few weeks ago. So I was like, awesome, good stuff. Like
I
that
know.
treated me really well. Yeah.
I did too, because
Yeah.
I sold half my OP, but I haven't sold any of my ARB, and
Yeah.
that was a multiplier for me.
Yeah.
Anyways, it took some time. The only just it would been nice to see stakers get rewarded
Hmm.
in this airdrop, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
However, overall, I think they did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I'm talking from a place of, my wallet's kind of heavy, so I'm a little biased, but yeah, it was. I like to see that it was 17.5%. It wasn't just like 5 or 10, and that they
Yeah.
gave 2/3 to the community and a
Yeah.
third to the investors.
None
So,
of the season stuff or any of that kind of stuff. Like I think they did a really decent airdrop. It's
oh
just
no,
a lot of the negativity. There's some legitimate negativity and mostly like non-legitimate negativity. The legitimate negativity has to do with like Rocket Pool, the protocol, got nothing,
Mhm.
even though a whole bunch of other protocols got stuff that
Right?
were
Like
kind of like
EtherFi
questionable.
and Lido.
EtherFi, Kelp, like just Lido, like it's like why wasn't Rocket Pool included? So that's one thing. But other than that, like everything else for me was great. So I'm not complaining from a personal perspective at all.
Not all.
Yeah.
Well, that concludes today's show. It was a good one. I'm hoping that this is the start of the phoenix arising from the ashes for Rocket Pool.
Yeah.
We'll see. But I think Houston upgrade is going to perhaps surprise some people in terms of what kind of hype it generates.
Yeah.
And it starts the summer for us. And the next thing we got is NodeSec coming, hopefully in a few months.
3 months. Yeah.
Right. And then we've got Saturn 1, maybe by the end of the year or Q1, where we start hitting those tokenomic things. So
exactly.
It's been rough.
It's a great time
it's been
for
rough.
Rocket. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And then the other thing, altcoins have been just really suffering against the big, ETH and BTC. So it doesn't matter in most ways, it doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're an altcoin, you're just not doing well. Yeah. And that narrative eventually probably will change, shift. And perhaps it's going to coincide with some of these exciting developments. Yeah. It could be a multiplier effect for us.
Exactly.
RPL token holders. So we'll see.
That would be great.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Like and subscribe. We will see you next week. Whack, take care. And I'm happy for your big airdrop.
Thank you so much, man. You too.
Okay, man. Talk to you later.